guest is the co-founder and the CEO of Stakester, the number one platform that lets competitive gamers bet on themselves. He's the host of the Back Yourself show. Welcome to the show, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm great, Toby. Thanks for having me on.
Thank
And thanks so much for introducing me.
Thank you so much, Tom, for making all this time to speak with me. I've been looking forward to having this conversation with you. It's a great pleasure to have you on this episode of Mirror Talk. I find your story very, very fascinating. The story of you fighting a huge Russian guy for money. Is it possible for you to share this story, narrate how
Yeah.
that event acts happened and
Yeah,
everything?
okay, fine. So look, so a bit of background, okay. So
Yeah.
and it's important. So like my background, I worked in a startup before. I was very lucky. I had a good career in the city, and so I want to say in the city for the international listeners. When you're in
Mm,
London, if you work in the financial services sector, like in a bank, you say you work in the city.
mm,
So I worked in that sector for a long time. I was a co-founder at a very successful startup, but I wasn't very happy because it wasn't fulfilling the things that I needed. I think I needed some freedom to go and do things I was passionate about, and scratch that itch that everyone has on that entrepreneurial journey. And so
mm,
I decided to leave, and I was going to go start my venture. No, but I didn't have any idea what I was going to do at this point. Now, as a side note, I've always been a martial arts obsessive. Now, I'm not very good, okay, at all, but I always compete and often lose. But I'm very much in the space, and I love it very much.
yeah.
And I've recently started on the journey of becoming a judo player, a jiu-jitsu player. Okay, so I'm
Mm,
getting quite into it, and
yes.
I'm in the gym, and this guy walks over to me, and I'm not very big. I'm 5'11", so it's like 180, and I weigh about 74 kilos. I'm not a big guy. And this guy walks in. He's got a vest on. He's got big guns, and he walks up to me and he says, "I recognize you. You're a win competition." And I was like, "Yeah, I did. Thanks, man." To which he followed up with, "But you look so weak." I was like, "Oh, cheers, bro. Thanks so much for making me feel rubbish about myself.
Mm,
Anyway, why don't you just F off and leave me alone?" And but anyway, he's like, "Well, how about we spar sometime?" And I was like, "All right, mate, I've just met you. Why do you want to spar with me?"
mm,
But of course, I said, "Yes, I accept this challenge to a duel. Of course I do. I can't be shamed in front of all these people." And it's jiu-jitsu, so the worst that can happen is you just tap out. It's not particularly risky.
yeah.
Anyway, and he's really confident. He's like, "Well, how about we do it for money?" And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, let's do it for money, mate. I'm in." And so he says, "I'll put down $10. I'll put in $10. First one's tapped, they lose." Anyway,
Mm,
the way the story goes, Toby, and the reason I'm telling the story is because I won, and if I didn't win, I wouldn't tell the story.
mm.
I'd just make it up. But the fact is, he didn't
Yeah.
know what he was doing. He got tapped out pretty quick, and
Mm,
he gets really grumpy, and he's like, "You cheat, you'll use your legs." Because I did something called a triangle choke, which is pretty standard stuff, but he storms off, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, where's my money?" And he's like, "I pay you next time." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I don't know who you are. I don't want to
mm,
know who you are. You pay me now, bro." "Yeah, I have no cash." And I was like, "Well, there must be an app for this." And so I look at my phone. And of course, there isn't an app for this. And I'm like, "Boom, Toby, I've got the best idea of all time here." In
yeah.
fact, at that moment, I had the worst business idea of all time. My
Mm,
business idea at the time was I'm going to make an app where I can wrestle people for money. That is the
mm,
worst business idea of all time, Toby. No one wants to do that. It's a horrific idea. But I
mm,
went away and I sat in a cafe, like all good startup stories. I sat in a coffee shop, walking around in the woods with my dog. And then I realized I've got to do this in gaming. Now, the problem is, Toby, the next episode of this story, I have zero qualification to start a gaming company.
mm.
Okay, when I was
Wha-
growing up, my brother was a gamer, and so I thought gaming was for losers. So I hated gaming. I like real sports. I don't own a console. I don't play any game. I don't do anything. Yeah, I wanted to go into a space that was huge, but I knew nothing about, and I was starting from absolute zero. And then I got down to business and I just started. And that's the story of how Stakester begun.
Wow. And that way you were able to build up your multi-million dollar business. Like Stakester is like the best or the biggest gaming platform out there right now, right?
Yeah. So look, I learned some really basic lessons at the very beginning,
Mm,
and I think one of the key ones is about self-awareness. Okay, you've got to remember when you first start out anything, you have a gift for something, Toby. You will be amazing at something.
mm,
Okay, but there'll be lots of things you're not amazing at. And that doesn't mean you're a loser. It just means that you're good at something and not everything else. It's like
exactly.
you could have the best rugby player in the world, but if you go and stick him in a swimming pool, he might just sink.
Mm,
Okay, it doesn't mean he's a loser. It just means he's not a great swimmer.
that's true.
And so what happens here is I was a bit, look, I know what I'm good at. Okay, I know what I'm good at professionally. And so I was
Mm,
like, okay, I'm going to use those skills. And one thing that I do believe I'm good at is getting people excited about stuff because I've worked in sales. So I needed to build a network. I needed to go and get people, get them excited about my project and bring them in. So I had to go and get experts.
mm,
So the first thing I did was I went and I spoke to all of my network and I was like, do you know anyone in gaming who right now might be free to help me start something?
mm,
And I went through my network and I found that my a very close friend of mine who used to work for me, her fiance, now husband, he was one of the first co-creators of Grand Theft Auto, one of the greatest games of all time. So I was like, I'm going to go and meet this guy. So I fly over to New York. I sit down with him. I tell him about what I'm trying to build. I really took the plunge, went all in, and then he joined. And so you start that journey. So then there's two of us.
mm.
And then I go and find a product guy. Then I go and find a technical guy. Then I go and find a marketing guy. And you just build up. And as you go through that pace, eventually you get to the point where you've got an amazing team.
Mm.
And if you bring an amazing team of people together and you nurture their talent and help them grow, you're going to build something amazing.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very, very true. And how are you able to like build up a championship mindset for your startup? Like after building up the team together, how are you able to like have that championship mindset that's yes, this is going to work. We're going to be successful with this business.
Okay, so this is something that I'm really passionate about, Toby, and I'm glad you brought this up. So look, people always say to me, what is the best way to prepare
Mm,
for business, for being a startup, being a founder?
yeah.
And I say, go and compete at anything.
Mm,
Doesn't matter what it is. It could be badminton. It could be chess. It could be a drama competition. It could be anything. Go and compete at something. And the reason I say that is because what you're doing when you compete is you're doing two things. Well, three things actually. One, you are learning how to master a craft to be the best at something.
mm,
And the truth is, when you're building a product, you have to be the best. You have to have the best product. You have to have the best customer service. You have to have the best marketing. You have to be the best at everything if you are going to win.
yeah.
And so you have to build that mindset where you are focused on being the best. And
Mm,
in a competition, that's why you're there. You
that's
don't
true.
enter a tournament because you want to come third. You enter a tournament because you want to win. And so when you are in that gym and you're training hard, you are training with the intention of being the best version of yourself.
Mm,
That's step one. But the second thing is you are constantly dealing with failure.
mm,
Constantly. If you're a boxer, you might win every fight, but you're still getting punched in the face the whole time.
that's true.
Okay?
Yeah.
If you're a rugby player, the two sports I'm passionate about, martial arts and rugby. If you're in rugby, you're
Mm,
getting hit constantly. You're making mistakes. You'll drop balls. You'll miss passes. It will happen,
mm,
but you still continue to go on. You
yeah.
take someone like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan missed thousands of free throws, but he's still one of the greatest players, still the greatest player of all time. Because
Yeah.
you measure people by their wins, you don't measure people by their losses.
Mm,
And that's something you have to learn to deal with. You have to learn to deal with rejection. You have to learn to deal with failure and constant improvement. And that's what happens when you are in that environment.
yeah.
And the third thing about being in a competitive environment, and I think this is really important, is a lot of people are afraid of feedback. They don't like being told that something's wrong when it's a
Mm,
professional environment,
mm,
which is madness because ultimately what's happening is you are being told how to improve, how to make something better, how to make something the highest standard it can be.
yeah.
But people are still afraid to do that. Yet if you're in the gym, if say you're playing squash and someone says maybe you should hit the ball a different way, that's coaching. You're like,
Mm,
yeah, all right, tell me. Tell me how I can be more accurate. Tell me how I can be faster around the court. Tell me how I can hit the ball harder. These things are coaching. And that mindset will teach you that actually in business, when someone says to you, maybe you could pitch your investors a little bit better, maybe you could change your product a little bit, maybe you could do this. These things are coaching to help you become the best version of yourself and the best business you can.
Yeah.
And being in a competition, having a competitive mindset is very important for that. And the third thing about being in competition, number one, dealing with rejection and constantly trying to be the best. Number two is about wanting and embracing coaching and feedback. But number three is becoming obsessed with the feeling of winning. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
All my friends tell me I'm not a bad loser, but I'm a terrible winner. Okay? If I lose, I don't care because I know I've been in the fight and I'm happy.
Yeah.
But if I win, dear God, Toby, I go on about it. I'll tell everyone. I am the worst winner. And you've got to become obsessed with that feeling. You've got to celebrate every single win. Something interestingly about it neurologically, your brain cannot distinguish between a small win and a big win. You'll find that professional athletes, when they win titles, it feels no more, there's the neurological difference in them is no different to it is when they win a game during the season. Every win means something.
Yes.
And so you've got to get addicted to that feeling, that serotonin, that dopamine. You've got to get addicted to that feeling when you win.
Wow. And every win that we have, no matter how small it could be, no matter how big it could be, we should celebrate it. We should,
Absolutely.
appreciate
You've
it.
got to celebrate every single one and be grateful for it. Yeah, because you might not get another one for a while, so enjoy it while you got it.
That's
but get
true.
addicted to that feeling.
Yeah. No, and in the first point that you make, thank you so much for for explaining all of this to me. I appreciate it. The first point you made, you talked about, you are going to get punched on the way, no matter the kind of battle you are fighting. For example, like in a game of rugby, for example, you are going to still get punched, even though you win the game at the end of the day. So I think like some things we have to look out for whenever we're trying to start out a successful business, like you started yours. Like, apart from getting punched, getting disappointed, failing on the way, I think like some things we have to pay attention to in order to avoid some mistakes that are very preventable.
Yeah, so look, it's that thing, isn't it? Like, the fact is, like, the boxing analogy I always think is an amazing one. Okay? Because, so in business, it's a really good analogy. Because in business, ultimately, a big win in business is having an exit. So let's assume that's the win. Someone buys your business or you list your business and then you run away into the sunset and you never have to work again. All right, maybe let's say that's the goal. Now, when you go into a boxing match, you don't know when that boxing match is going to end. But it goes one of three ways. Okay? Well, it could go a fourth way, but it's very rare. Okay? Let's assume there's not going to be a draw because draws are so low in boxing. So let's assume it goes one of three ways. You get knocked out early on in the round. You get knocked out. You think you're getting to the end of it. It might even be the 12th round. And you get knocked out and you lose. You could be right at the end. You're winning on points. You're about to get there. Then there's a recession and you get knocked out. Okay? Yes. Or it could be the other way. First round. I've built the most amazing product ever. Someone's rocked up. They bought my business. I'm out. First round I won. It could happen round 7. Or you could get to the end and it turns out you get to the end and you win on points. Okay? You still win. You've won on points. But you've done the journey. It's taken you that period of time. It's taken you 10 years. You've done it. Great.
Yeah.
On that journey, there is no one in the history of boxing who has gone the whole of a fight that's lasted more than one round without being hit, without taking some damage, whether it be a bruise on their arm, whether it be a body shot, whether it just be a jab. It doesn't matter what it is. They have taken some damage. But when you go into that fight, you do two things. One, you prepare yourself physically. Okay? And that's what you do when you are working on a business. You make sure you have enough money, in this analogy, you make sure you have enough money in the tank so you can keep going. So if it takes longer than you think it's going to take, you have enough money to keep going. And that's what the fitness is as a boxer. So if it goes into the depths of that 12th round and you are gassed and you can't breathe and your lungs are burning, and your legs don't work and your hands are broken and you're cut all over the shop, you still got the money, you still got that investment that you put in the gym, you still got it to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second thing you prepare for is you learn how to take a punch. Okay? If you are a great boxer, someone like Floyd Mayweather, he will get punched a lot, even though he's the best defensive boxing of all time. But the ones he gets hit with, he knows how to roll with them. He takes them, rolls with them. He feels good.
Mm.
It's going the right way. They don't hit him clean
Mm.
because he has prepared for that. And that's what you have to do as a founder. If you run your own business, anything in life, you've got to accept, I am going to get hit. I'm going to get hit. I'm going to get hurt. And you just accept it. It's just part of it. It's not a surprise.
Mm.
No one's surprised when they get hit. Okay?
Yeah.
And you've got to
Yes.
have that same feeling when you go into the ring.
Mm. Yeah. Wow, those are very valid. Yes. Yeah. So that means we have to, have that mindset that in this ring, in this business that I'm going into, I should get ready to get punched and get ready to, fail in some time or some
You are going to
ways.
get punched. You're going to
Yeah.
get punched, Toby. There
Mm.
is nothing that you have ever done in your life, ever,
Mm.
that was truly valuable that you haven't had rejection or pain along the way. And the reason for that is because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And the truth is, you cannot achieve something great without pain,
True.
without suffering, without hard work, without hustle. You can't
Mm.
achieve something great.
Mm.
And the fact is, if you do it, because otherwise everyone would be doing it.
That's very true.
Everyone would be married to the perfect woman. Everyone would have the most amazing business. Everyone would have the best house. Everyone would have a six pack
Mm.
if it was easy. But it's not.
Mm. It's not.
Okay, it's hard. And that's
That's
why
true.
you have to be prepared for that graft.
Yeah. Earlier you were talking about, you have this talent, you have this gift of, getting people excited for a business. So you got your team up together, by getting them excited about the business that you're about to start. So I would love to tap into that gift of yours, and I would love you to teach us how, to get people excited, especially investors, how we can get, investors excited to, raise funds for our business also.
Okay, so it's really okay. So when it talks about getting investors excited, there's two ways you get investors excited. Number one is something called emotional contagion.
Hmm.
Okay, that's really basic. Okay,
Hmm.
if you are happy, the other human in the room will probably also be happy. Okay, now there are obviously occasions when you've got that annoying guy who's so happy and you're like, shut up. But generally speaking, if you're excited about something, if you're not
Yeah.
excited about it, they're not going to be excited.
Hmm.
You've got to
Hmm.
be excited about what you're doing. Otherwise, you might as well give up. Okay,
Hmm.
you've got to share that excitement.
Hmm.
Number one. Number two, you've got to understand what matters to them. The truth is, investors do not care, and I know I am an investor. They don't care about you. They don't care about what you're building. Not really. They care a little bit, obviously, because you're another human being, and they don't want to be investing in, nuclear waste, okay, and things that go warming.
Hmm.
But generally
Yeah.
speaking, they don't care. What they care about is how much money they are going to make from their investment. That's why it's called an investment,
Hmm.
okay? And so what you have to do is you have to get them excited about the fact that they are going to make lots of money by putting money in you. It's not a charity they're giving you here. It is an investment to give them a huge return so they do incredibly well. And so your job is to get them excited about that. It's as simple as that. Okay, so you have to say, look, this is where we are today. You are going to invest in my business at X amount. This is my journey to get to Y amount of money, which means you will make squillions. Okay, and
Yeah.
they're going to be thinking that yacht. Damn, I'm going to get
Hmm.
that. It's going to take me 5 years, and I'm going to get that yacht. That's what they're thinking. That's what you have to do.
Hmm. Wow. That's
And
great.
that's how you get people excited. Understand their motivations. Understand what they care about.
Mm, understand what they care about, and also you have to have that faith in your business, also that belief that you're going to succeed also, I believe, because you won't be able to pass across
Correct.
to them if you don't believe in yourself or in your business also. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow. So before you started Stakester, for example, how were you able to spot that gap, that favorable spot in a very saturated market of maybe gaming platform or betting platform for games? How were you able to find that sweet spot that you were able to flourish in?
Okay, so first of all right, I don't believe in gaps.
Mm.
There are billions of people on this planet, and I am not smarter than any of them. Okay? I'm not going to find a gap in the market. That's not what you do. Like, gap in the
Mm,
markets don't exist. And if there's a gap, it's probably because it's a dumb idea. There's a gap in the market for a product that's helped people wrestle against each other for money.
mm,
What you've got to understand is that it's not about finding a gap. It's not about finding something unique. It's about doing something better.
mm.
There were other people doing what we were doing, but they weren't doing it very well. And
Yeah.
so what I did was I looked at what they were doing. I thought really hard about it. I spent a year doing competitor research.
Mm,
And that's a lot. And I went so hard and so deep. And that was the most valuable time I've ever spent. Our company is 3 years old,
mm.
but we're not 3 years old. Okay. We are
Okay.
really only about 2 years old. And the reason for that is because we spent a year researching, trying to figure out, refining, speaking to customers, potential customers, asking everyone constantly,
Mm,
why would this be, how can this become amazing? Why is the competitor rubbish?
mm.
And that time, that's what helps you build something amazing. It's not about finding a gap. It's about taking something that already exists or other people's ideas, bringing them together and
Okay.
making them better.
Yeah.
Okay, it comes back to that sports analogy.
Mm,
Everyone, when they play tennis, like you take Nadal, now officially the greatest player of all time, he hits the tennis ball the same way as everyone else.
mm.
He runs around the same court as everyone else. Yet he's breaking all the records. And the reason for that is because he's doing it better. It's that
Mm.
simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Mm. Yes. So we just have to find a way of, making our business stand out in the sense of, us doing it better, doing it in a much more unique way, basically. Hmm. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is exactly right.
Yes. But Tom, I'd love to know something. I know you're a family man. You have a daughter, for example, and you're running this business also. How do you balance it all? How do you achieve a healthy work-life balance without burnout or getting frustrated or
Yeah,
depressed or all that?
this is a great question. So look, what people need to remember is this is quite controversial, but I always say if you feel like you need a holiday,
Mm,
you are managing your life badly.
mm,
Okay? If you're a farmer in, say, the 17 or 1800s, you didn't get things like holidays. You just kept working.
mm,
They didn't talk about burnout.
mm,
Okay? Because what you do is you manage your life. You have to remember work plus rest equals success.
mm,
If you said to a professional sportsman, I want you to train from 8 a.m. in the morning to 9 o'clock at night every day or 6 days a week and then rest on Sunday, they'd be like, what the are you talking about?
mm,
I'll die.
mm,
It's not how it works. So you have to manage your day and your life in that way. You have to listen to your body.
mm.
And it's
Yeah.
really simple. There are 4 things you need to get right in order to make your life balanced. Okay. Number 1 is get your diet right. Okay. The stuff you put in your body is what fuels your existence.
Mm,
Okay. I'm not a dietitian, but you all know the stuff you shouldn't be eating and the
yeah.
drugs you shouldn't be taking. You all know what they are. Okay. Okay. So just don't do it.
Yes. Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Number 2 is sleep. Sleep is complicated. It's a complicated thing, but you need to find time to sleep.
Mm,
No matter how hard you work, my advice is nothing good happens after 9 p.m. Go to bed earlier, get up earlier like your body is telling you to. Interesting study that was done last year is that people took away people's alarm clocks and just let people wake up naturally, and they tracked them over the course of a year. And they consistently went to bed earlier and woke up earlier because that's the natural circadian rhythm for their body. It's what we're
yeah.
designed to do.
Yes.
Sleep. So number 1, diet, sleep. 3, exercise. The fitter you are, okay, the more you can get done. If you're an athlete, you can work longer hours. Good on you, mate. If you're fitter, you can get more done during the day because you've got more energy.
Mm,
Find a way. It doesn't matter what you do for exercise. It could be HIIT class. It could be CrossFit. It could be running. It could be walking. It could be, it doesn't matter what it is. Find a way to move and keep yourself healthy and strong because that will allow you to do other things.
yeah. Mm,
And
yes.
number 4, something that people forget all the time, and I don't do enough of it, and people don't really understand the value of it, is you have to find time to forget about the world every single day. Whether that be through mindfulness, through basic meditation, maybe that's active mindfulness, maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's watching a Netflix. Don't know what it is. Just switch off from the world. I'm a huge fan of mindfulness. Half an hour, 25 minutes a day. Just get yourself in a space where your brain can relax and you forget about the rest of the world that's going on.
Mm.
And you learn to control your thoughts, and that is so beneficial. And everyone who really commits to mindfulness practice and they do it for 6 months, everyone says, that is worth it. I feel better. I feel amazing.
Mm. Yes.
And then you don't get tired. And there'll be days when you're a bit knackered, so you rest a bit more. There'll be days when you're not so tired, so you work a bit longer. It is what it is. Listen to your body. Diet, sleep, exercise, mindfulness. It's that simple. Manage that every day. Manage it every day, and you won't get burnout.
Mm. Wow, I love
Just
that.
to remember, I'm not a doctor. This is just my own personal experience.
I love that disclaimer also. Like, it's very important to add that to it. Yeah, but I love the fact that I said, we should, listen to our body. Like, when not the best time to rest, not the best time to work more if you have to work more, for example, and just know how to balance it all up. Yeah, be mindful, sleep right, eat well, and exercise. Exercise is very, very important. Yes. So I love you to, tell us a little bit about Stakester, your company. It allows us to play our favorite games for real money and real price. So can you share more about this and how does it work for listeners out there?
Yeah, super simple. So 2 ways you can do it. So number one, you can pop onto the app and you can pick a game like FIFA. That's the game I like to play. You go
Mhm.
on the app. We'll match you with someone else the same skill level. You both put in a little bit of money, and whoever wins takes the pot. It's that simple. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, we only do it with skill-based games, so it's not gambling. It's always skill-based. The other way you can do it with mobile games as well. So we get like high score games. So we've got a great game on there called Star Squadron right now, where it's like a classic Space Invaders type game.
Mhm.
If you get the high score that day, you win $50.
Wow.
There you go.
Great.
Simple as that.
Yes. That's so simple.
And we got
And
over 100,000, 120,000 people playing the game every month. We love it.
wow. Yeah, I'm going to place the information to your website in the show note of this episode. So I encourage everyone to just check it out and see if something of interest to them. Also, it's a wonderful
Please
and
do.
very interactive, platform. And you also has a podcast like myself. You have your show, and the your podcast show is on the mission to empower those thinking about launching their own startup and turning those who have their own business into superstars. Also, turning them, making them have superstar successes already. So, can you tell us about the back your sorry the back yourself show and tell
Yes.
us about your episodes too.
So look, really basically, when I started my company Stakester, I didn't know what I was doing. So I went and
Mm,
spoke to loads of people to get their advice.
mm,
But I like to speak to people who are having the problem right now, not people who had it 3, 4 years ago. If you ask me how good I was at rugby,
mm,
because I don't play anymore, I tell you, every 6 months I got better.
mm.
I've forgotten all the times I lost. I was the best player of all time, mate. I could have played for England. Okay, and that's what happens. You lose that. I guess that clarity of thought. You really understand that emotion, that authenticity. So we
Mm,
interview people who are living the problem right now, who have just come out of the problem and solved it, and we ask them how they solved a certain problem, which
mm,
all of us face as startups. That might be like, how did you raise money? How did you get people to answer? How did you get people to test your product? How did you run a marketing campaign with zero spend? How did you build a
mm,
brand? How did you hire your first employee? All those kind of questions that we have as a founder, we try to answer those because those are the questions I had, and I had those conversations. I thought, let's start recording those, and we're
mm.
great. And now we've got a really good measure. We've had, I think now we're up to 11 businesses have been started by people who listen to the show.
Wow,
So
that's
we're on to
good.
a winner.
Yes, that's good. So anyone who's looking out to starting up a business should listen to your show, the back yourself up
100%.
show, yeah. But the back yourself show, and yeah, maybe you could get some tips, get some advice on how to start your own business also. But Tom, I'd love you to like share some common mistakes that founders or businesses make. Can you share these mistakes with us and how we could avoid those mistakes?
Okay, so there are The biggest mistake that people make, and they make it all the time, and it drives me mad, is just number one thing: speak to your customers or your potential customers. Just
Mm,
talk to them. Because the worst thing you can do is just live in your own little world where you think you know what people are going to do and what they want, but you don't. You're just one person. Go and speak to people and ask them what they want, what they need, what's valuable, what's not. And
mm.
from there, you're going to get some great value.
Yeah. Oh, great, great. That's awesome. So always listen to your customers, get feedback from them, and work on that. Yeah.
Always correct. Speak to your customers. Number one
Yes.
rule.
Awesome, Tom. That's great. So, what's the best way to connect and work with you for people out there who still have to ask you more questions, connect with you, or maybe work with you? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, man. Best is to my place of of hanging out is LinkedIn. So I'm just
Mm.
at Thomas Fairey, LinkedIn. So you can find me. I'm the very handsome man on there. You'll recognize the picture because I look like a babe. Um, I'm joking. I'm
Of
the guy
course.
who's got the receding hairline. Try to cover it up, but I'm going bald very quickly. It'll be gone soon. But yeah, so you just find me on there, and then yeah, happy to chat.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the wonderful things you shared with me today about finding that balance, being mindful, and how to build a successful business and become a better person also overall. Thank you so much, Tom. This was so wonderful.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your time, Toby.